urban design, materials, theory, landscape. This town gives me a design high. As a builder, an architecture grad, a musician, and an artist, walking these streets, there is a here and now. These are Winnipeg's places and spaces. Places of worship and spiritual practice form the backdrop for the faith that we feel. So many times in history, we see extreme efforts being taken to create a space or building that communicates a divine message. In this episode, we explore a few different narratives as they occurred in Winnipeg, each finding a unique way to make the user experience the sacred. St. George's was designed by Leslie Russell of Green Blankstein, Russell and Associates, and was constructed in 1957 in the Crescentwood area of River Heights in Winnipeg's South End. It stands on the remains of two previous buildings at the Crescentwood site. The building is faced inside and outside with Tyndall limestone veneer on brick, creating an illusion of a solid Tyndall stone building that in reality is only a facade. Expanses of windows lighten the structure, visible from both approaches at Wilton Street and Grosvenor Avenue. Joan Harland, department head of the first School of Interior Design in Canada, oversaw the design of the sanctuary. The design of the new church was influenced by the presence of a shared wall with the parish hall, previously designed by architect John Simmons in 1952. Both entrances' single-story projections from the tall sanctuary speaks to the subtlety of the front porches that are characteristic of the neighborhood it resides in. Rectilinear. Elevation. Context. Etienne Gabory designed Precious Blood Parish, constructed by Boxsteel in 1969. Perhaps more than any other architect in the province, Gabory is someone whose work attempts to communicate the regional character that has shaped the way many Manitobans view themselves. It was clear that this would be a challenging structure to achieve. The Catholic Church is located in Winnipeg's St. Boniface neighborhood, east of the Red River. The building was part of the Vatican II program in the 1960s that intended new architecture to connect with modern Catholics. The parish is arguably Gabory's most identifiable work and is described as an excellent example of Canadian regionalism. With limited windows and a hooded western-facing stained glass window, the building is sensitive to Winnipeg's severe climate and low-angled winter sun. The building is circled with an undulating brick wall and spiraling cedar shake roof that culminates in a soaring corkscrew apex. Regionalism. Organic. Dimension. Designed by Gary Hilderman and HTFC Planning and Design, Udina is an Ojibwe word for heart of the community. This is more so a landscape work, straddling architecture, land art, and landscape architecture in contrast to the others, which are buildings. Described as a place to gather and celebrate our common heritage, Udina was inspired by the myths and sacred places of the many groups drawn to the Forks over its 6,000-year history. Cree, Ojibwe, and Métis peoples made their homes in the area that would become Upper Fort Garry, and later a settlement called Red River, before finally becoming the city named Winnipeg, which references the waters that Udina overlooks. The need for a spiritual and ceremonial center for the Forks development provided an opportunity to restore contact with the cultural history of the site and the dynamic forces of earth, water, and sky. First Nations elders were integral in the planning process. The excavation of a 3-meter deep sodded bowl removed fill deposited by the railways to a 3,000-year archaeological horizon, Surrounding the bowl, large cobblestone bases support sculptural sighting armatures that act as guideposts for celestial orientation. In addition to markers to identify sunrise and sunset on the solstices, there are guideposts to constellations from different cultures as familiar as the Big Dipper to as exotic as Vishnu's footprints in the Vedic culture. An ancient instrument, the Aeolian harp, and a weather vane both respond to wind atop two of the guideposts, activating the flow of energy passing through the site constantly. The bowl dips to a circular stage with a stone medallion in the center which covers a fire pit. This space is used as a theater for events and performances. Mysterious and compelling, this award-winning site has succeeded in becoming an intimate gathering place for ceremonies both formal and informal. Inspiration. Ambiguity. Holistic. From the moment we could record history, we've been telling stories of spirituality, trying to explain our existence. And at the same time, we've been creating gathering spaces and sites to experience this together, because part of this human experience is the fact that we share it with one another. In this episode, we visited 3 very different spiritual places, and though they may be different in their built form and their shape and their materials, it's clear that they all serve a certain common purpose, and that is to gather amongst each other and to create a space for us to experience our spirituality.